You wake up on a silk-covered slab feeling like a high-end cut of meat being prepped for a butcher's window. You've been dragged out of sleep by a lifestyle so civilized, it makes a prison sentence look like a career promotion. No cozy morning vibe. You're a male concubine, catapulting into another day of being a living, breathing luxury accessory for a community that thinks democracy is a club you're legally banned from entering. You sit up and check yourself for the one thing that could end your life: a shadow of a beard. In this world, a single stray hair on your chin isn't a sign of maturity. It's a death warrant for your career. You stretch as quietly as a hostage and wonder what it would feel like to wake up in a body that actually belongs to you. But you can't think about that. You've got maintenance. You aren't a person. You're a product. And in ancient Greece, the customer is always right, and the product is always silent. Your morning routine isn't about hygiene, it's about erasing your biology. You don't just get ready. You undergo a systematic removal of every trace of your own manhood. You get dressed in a tunic so thin it's basically a legal suggestion. But the real outfit is your skin. You are subjected to the scraping. You spend hours being slathered in oil and then literally planned down with a strigil, a curved bronze blade. It's not spotted. It's a biological audit. They don't want a man. They want a living marble statue that's soft enough to touch. And if you're a slave, if your master wants to preserve your high-pitched voice or make sure your youthful look doesn't expire, he'll subject you to the kinedesma. That means dog tie. They take a metal ring or a leather thong and literally stitch it through your foreskin to lock your anatomy shut. It's the ultimate tamper-evident seal. It's a cold, constant reminder that your body is a community project and you don't hold the permit. You start your day fully aware that your very skin is being managed like a piece of real estate. Then your actual workday starts. You were purchased with the same paperwork as a mule. Your master inspected your teeth, assessed your muscle tone, evaluated your skin for blemishes the way a merchant checks pottery for cracks. Price was negotiated. Coins changed hands. A contract was signed. The mule, at least, was never described as beautiful in a poem immediately after. You walk through the agora slightly behind him, not beside him. Behind. One step back. Always one step back. You feel it in your feet before you feel it anywhere else. Present but not permitted. Visible but not valid. You pass men who vote, men who argue, men who exist at full volume. And you move through them like a rumor nobody is allowed to confirm. You pass the porneia on the way, the brothels. You don't look. You already know what's in there, and you already know how close you are to it. And knowing both of those things simultaneously is its own specific kind of suffocation. The only difference between you and the boys in that doorway is one philosopher with a preference. You keep walking. You keep your face correct. You keep moving, because stopping in this life is not a neutral act. You arrive at the symposium, philosophy seminar, frat party, hostage situation for your dignity, running simultaneously forever. You are the vibe manager. Wine, music, ego maintenance for men who have never once been told their opinion was unwelcome. Real men recline, you pour, you stand. You arrange your face into the expression that communicates availability without desperation, intelligence without threat, beauty without awareness of it, which is the hardest performance you do all day, and it runs every night with no days off and no understudies. A man delivers a speech about justice using your shoulder as an armrest. He does not notice. You feel the full weight of his elbow, and you think about justice. Your specific, personal, extremely relevant thoughts about justice. And you say absolutely none of them, because you are not a person at this table. You are a service someone is resting on while discussing the nature of personhood. You pour his wine. You move on. You do not spill it. That last part takes everything you have. Here's what nobody says out loud. You are not here for the wine pouring. The wine pouring is the decoration. What you are actually here for happens later, in a room, without an audience, without your consent functioning as a concept. Because your consent is not a concept. It is a word that does not apply to your category of person the way weather does not apply indoors. Your master offers you to a guest the way a good host offers bread. Casually, generously, as basic hospitality. You are an amenity, a room feature, a complimentary welcome gift that did not consent to the complimentary part. And you perform that too, with the correct expression. The same one you practiced for the rooster. The same one that costs you something every single time you put it on, and that you will put on again tomorrow, and every day, until your beard comes in, and suddenly, mercifully, horribly, nobody asks you to wear it anymore. You scrape yourself clean afterward. You always scrape yourself clean afterward. The strigil gets a lot of use in this life, and not all of it is the morning kind. Then comes the rooster. Yes, a rooster. A live, aggressive, deeply confused farm animal, presented to you in public as a token of romantic interest. You stand there holding a bird that is actively trying to end your life, while 30 people watch to calibrate your emotional response. Too enthusiastic when you're cheap. Too cold, you're ungrateful. The acceptable window of reaction is a graceful, modest half smile, held for exactly as long as dignity requires, and not 1 second longer. You are walking a tightrope over a cliff, holding a chicken in front of an audience, being evaluated on your technique. You smile. You hold the bird. The bird hates you personally. You have never related to anything more. There is a word for what you are. Adamos, dishonored, civically dead. You feel it every time you approach a temple and stop at the door. Every time an assembly convenes and you walk the other direction. Every time a citizen opens his mouth in public and you close yours. Not because someone told you to, but because your mouth learned a long time ago that opening leads nowhere good and closing at least keeps you safe. You have the self-control of a saint and the rights of a lamp. You stopped reaching for things so gradually you didn't notice it happening. And then one day, you realized you'd arranged your entire body around a life of not reaching, and you called it composure, because that was the word they gave you for it, and you didn't have another one. You didn't get a trial. You arrived already sentenced. You are divine enough to be compared to Ganymede, the boy the gods kidnapped and called it an honor. Athens hands you that comparison like it's a gift. Like being stolen by something powerful is the same thing as being chosen. Like being useful to a god is the same thing as being free. You smile and accept the comparison. You file it next to the rooster, in the part of you that collects things you are never allowed to say out loud, but that you will think about tonight in the dark, after everyone else has gone to sleep. Evening. You feel it before you think it. The clock. It ticks in your jaw, in the soft skin under your chin, in the edge of your voice when something almost deeper comes out. The second puberty lands, you are no longer the beloved. You are the ex-beloved, an expired luxury item in a world with no returns policy and no severance package. The man who pressed his lips to your hair last season will look at your stubble this season with the specific disgust of someone who just noticed their most prized possession has developed a crack. Growing up here is not a milestone. It's a career-ending injury. You've spent your entire life perfecting one skill, how to be wanted in exactly the right way. And that skill has an expiration date stamped on your own face, moving towards you one morning at a time, and there is nothing. Nothing. Nothing you can do about it. Except stay smooth, stay silent, stay pretty, stay alive. Because the alternative isn't freedom. The alternative is Lorium, the silver mines, where you go when you become inconvenient, when the master gets bored, or you get a wrinkle, or you develop the catastrophic audacity of an opinion. Not fired, not released, sold, downward, into the earth, into the dark. Breathing metal dust, chained underground. The average life expectancy is not measured in years. It is measured in seasons. 1, maybe 2, if you're unlucky enough to last that long. You put the wine pitchers away at the end of the night. You feel the exhaustion that lives not in your muscles, but somewhere behind them, in the place where you keep the things you are never, ever allowed to say out loud. Because being a male concubine in ancient Greece isn't a lifestyle. It's a life sentence with excellent lighting. It sucks. Not because you're weak, not because you're lesser, not because you're incapable, but because everything they needed from you, they took. Your body, your voice, your consent. your years, your name. And in return, they gave you a poem, a rooster, and the privilege of being beautiful in a world that will discard you the moment you stop being either. They put your face on the statues. They left your name off the documents. They called your exploitation education, your silence grace, your body sacred. Civilization so permanent, so celebrated, so endlessly studied, that 2,000 years later, a professor is giving a lecture right now about the glory of ancient Greece, and your name isn't in it, and the statues are in museums. And somewhere, a boy with an unfortunate jawline just walked into a gymnasium, and a philosopher is reaching for his beard, and the whole thing starts again.